You know, it's amazing how sometimes a single sentence can hold an entire world of meaning. So today, we're going to put on our detective hats and dissect one ancient, incredibly powerful sentence. We're going to break it down piece by piece and see how it builds this explosive moral argument that is just as relevant now as it was thousands of years ago. And here it is. This is our artifact for today. Now, on the surface, it just seems like a pretty simple rule about being fair in the marketplace, right? But when you look at the original Hebrew, wow, it's constructed like this brilliant legal argument where every single word is chosen for maximum impact. So, how in the world do just a handful of ancient words create this whole ethical framework that still hits home thousands of years later? Well, let's dive in and break it down, word by word. Okay, so it all starts with something incredibly simple, something you could hold in your hand, an oven, a stone. Now, we're not talking about just any old rock. This was a specific stone, carefully calibrated, used as a weight on a balanced scale in, a bustling ancient market. Just picture someone buying green or maybe some silver. This little stone is the tool that decides the price. And this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see how a word's meaning can just completely shift. The even starts out as just a neutral object, a simple stone. Then it gets elevated to become a standard of truth, of fairness. But in the context of our verse, it gets corrupted. It becomes a symbol for economic deceit. So let's get into the mechanics of the scam itself. Because the text isn't just saying, hey, don't cheat. Oh no, it's describing a really clever, very specific setup. The whole key is in the repetition. The Hebrew says, even v'aven, which literally means a stone and a stone. Now, why would you say that? It sounds kind of redundant, doesn't it? But that repetition, that is the absolute heart of the crime. The author's basically waving a giant red flag, pointing out a double standard. And here's exactly how the scam worked. A dishonest merchant would have two different sets of stones. When they were buying green from a farmer, they'd pull out the heavy stone. That made the farmer's product seem lighter than it was, cheating them out of their fair share. But then, when they turned around to sell that same green to you, they'd switch to the light stone, making your portion seem heavier. It's a brilliant and terrible system designed to rip people off at both ends of the deal. But wait, the verse isn't done yet. This whole fraud wasn't just about weight. The text then introduces a second tool of the trade, the ephah. This was a standard-sized basket, a unit of volume, used for measuring out things like flour or barley. And yeah, you can probably guess exactly where this is going. It's the same scam, just with volume. The merchant had a big, oversized ephah for buying, so they'd get extra grain for free, and then a small, undersized ephah for selling, shortchanging the customer every single time. So, here's the crucial point. This wasn't just some one-off trick. By condemning both the even viven and the ephah viva, the text is describing a totally comprehensive, systemic fraud. It's an attack on the very foundation of a fair economy. Okay, so we get the crime now. It's pretty clear. But the next part of the verse is where things just shift gears completely. We're moving from marketplace regulations to a cosmic moral judgment. The case has been laid out. The evidence is in. So what's the verdict? Is this just a fine? A slap on the wrist? Or is it something much, much more severe? The verdict is one of the single most powerful words of condemnation in the entire biblical vocabulary, abomination. The Hebrew word here is toeva. And we've got to be clear, this is not a word for a simple mistake or a minor sin. We're not talking, oops, my bad here. This term is reserved for things that are considered profoundly, fundamentally, morally repulsive. It's an act that basically pollutes the community and defies the entire moral order. This completely raises the stakes, because for an act to be an abomination, there has to be a judge, right? A standard bearer. So who is it that finds this behavior so utterly detestable? And the verse gives us the answer. It's an abomination to the Lord, to Yahweh. And this right here is the masterstroke of the whole argument. It takes what could have been a simple piece of commercial law and elevates it into a theological crisis. Cheating your neighbor in the market isn't just bad business. It's a direct offense against God. It's a violation of divine order itself. And just when you think the verdict is in and the case is closed, the verse adds two final words. And these words just slam the door shut, making sure there is absolutely no way to argue or wiggle out of this judgment.
Those final two Hebrew words are gum and shenehem. Together, they basically mean both of them. It's like a final emphatic stamp on a legal document.
Their function here is legal. It's absolute. It means some clever merchant couldn't argue, well, my weights were fair, it was just my baskets that were a little off. Nope. The text says gam shenhehem. Both of them. The two scams, the fraudulent weights and the fraudulent measures, are equally an abomination. There are no loopholes. Case closed. And this just lays out the whole argument perfectly. You can see the structure. You've got the two subjects, weights and measures. You see the specific crime for each one, keeping a double standard. You see the judgment, abomination to the Lord. And then bam, that final word, which makes the condemnation total and inescapable. It is a perfectly constructed case. Okay, so this is all fascinating as a piece of ancient literature, right? But what does it have to do with us today, in a world that's so far removed from stone weights and measuring baskets? You know, the enduring power of this verse is its core principle. It takes the most basic, everyday objects of the economy and connects them directly to the highest possible moral standard. And that takeaway is profound. You simply cannot separate your financial ethics from your core character. Economic justice and spiritual integrity are, and always will be, two sides of the very same coin. And that, of course, leaves us with one final, crucial question for ourselves. We might not use stone weights anymore, but the principle of the two stones, come on, it is everywhere. So what are our modern versions? Is it in complex financial products we don't understand? Is it in confusing terms of service designed to trap us? Maybe it's algorithmic bias in hiring or loans. The tools have changed, for sure, but that temptation to maintain a double standard, one that benefits us while it harms others, that remains as powerful as ever.